You guys are on.
Hello.
We live? We're good?
We are live.
Fixed? Hey, we've talked to Nick all week about blinking. Swears
They
he
work.
did.
I swear I'm not a robot.
He's a machine.
It depends
The
on his
machine.
day. Depends on his day at work, I think.
Especially lately. I've been a little busy.
A lot of phone calls, a lot of going over stuff. It's been hot out.
It's very
Super
hot.
Yeah.
I'll take it though. I'm not ready for the winter. Rather have the heat.
All right, guys, let us know if you can hear us, if everything's working good. Give us some feedback in the comments, and we'll rock and roll.
Yeah, they can hear you. I've got all the graphs too
Okay.
to put on the screen.
How many people we got watching so we get started? Should we
7.
wait?
There's 12 people.
12. Now it's 11. Thanks, Curtis. We are good. Let's go.
Yeah, let's do it. Because it's Friday. We ain't got no job.
Randy, we're using
Ain't
iPhones
shit
for
to do.
this?
I wish.
It'd be a lot cheaper, huh?
Yeah.
Same, of course. I'm glad it's working good.
Guys, we'll fire up the show here in a minute. We're just going to answer some questions and get into it. Wait for a couple people to log on, then we'll rock and roll.
It's a manifold.
Manifold. It's a little manifold.
Yeah, imagine. if you
Curtis,
had
what's
that
up,
out
buddy?
an inch.
Dan, it was nice seeing you in Sturgis. I'm glad you had a good trip and you were safe. It's awesome your bike held up and you guys had a good time, went all over the place.
Well, why don't you start us off, Jamie?
All right. Well, we just wanted to do a live with you because a couple weeks ago we released the center-cooled M8 Dynograph shootout for your quick closing cams that produce torque on the bottom and have relatively good horsepower. We also wanted to highlight the Harley-Davidson Screaming Eagle Stage 2 setup because it's a performer. The Screaming Eagle 511 cam, it came out of the box with their setup the way they wanted to perform. It was 121 horsepower, so they beat the 120 horsepower mark, 130 foot-pounds of torque. So for a OEM cam, factory warranty still intact if you do it with their tuner and the whole package they have. Great numbers. These are numbers we would never have thought we'd be at, 5 years ago. So big difference. Now, if you're not worried about warranty or you want to do an aftermarket warranty, other cams in a shootout outperform it. But the Harley cam's right there in the mix, and it's a good option for someone that maybe doesn't have a high-performance shop that can do the work we do near them or want to stay in factory warranty.
And it's got 130 foot-pounds of torque, which is really all that matters. I mean, up to 5,000 RPMs, it's a stump puller.
Yep.
I just want to interject. I think people don't realize that you talk the same way in real life as you do on the videos. when he calls on the phone, he's like, "I want you to bring the MHP 485 cam up to my office. I'm going to ship it to a customer."
I did that today with gaskets for you, actually. That makes sense.
I want you to sell these gaskets, and I want you to stack them, and I'm going to ship them.
The best part is it's right next to his office, so I went all the way for Ryan upstairs to get them and then gave them to you.
You built the quote.
I did.
Built the quote, found the customer.
I was like, "You sure you want me to?" Okay, yes, sir.
I was busy. I was trying to track down granite cylinders for you.
I appreciate that.
I'm going to try not to cough too much.
Center cooled 135 crate engine. Yeah, we have thoughts. We'd like to see what it does. It's a lot different than our 135. So our 135 cubic inch engine is on the standard 4.5 stroke. The new Harley 135 is a stroke motor, so it's running a 4.625 stroke. we'd rather get the cubic inch and bore than stroke. The piston speed is slower, the rings are a little bit happier, and we're able to unshroud the valves and get more air into the cylinder faster with a larger bore. From the factory though, if you're looking for something that is under warranty, it's an option. It's not going to be the biggest screamer, but it's going to be a really cool setup. It's making what, 140s, 140s?
Mid 140s, yeah.
Out of the box with warranty. So if that's what you're looking for, really, really cool setup. Now, when we start building our 135 on it, we'll make 30 more horsepower on our setup. There's a difference in cost associated with it, but they're both great setups. It just depends on what you're looking for, how much your budget is, and who's doing the work.
That's awesome though, from Harley. That's a good kit. 140 horsepower and torque with the warranty. That's hard to beat.
Yeah, and those cylinders they're running on it are the 131 cylinders. And those cylinders are very, very stout. They are using a tool steel sleeve inside their cylinder. It's cast in place into their cylinder body. And we run those cylinders on our 131 setups. We just do the finish hone to get the texture we need. But awesome cylinder. It's going to be a factory flywheel, so it looked like the flywheel will stock. It's no different. Harley doesn't have an aftermarket Screaming Eagle M8 flywheel yet. All the flywheels are a standard M8 flywheel with their regular rod, and that is in the motor. What's cool about it, though, is Harley has a brand new head that is a special casting for their CNC program and their Screaming Eagle heads for that motor, and we haven't seen those in person yet. So I think they're going to be really cool. So if someone wants to pump one of those 135s up, you can. The one thing we'd recommend is when you start to go over 150 horsepower, that's where we like to build the bottom end, put a different set of rods on that flywheel, and build the flywheel and weld it.
There was a comment that scrolled up that said, how limited are we going to be on the VVTs? We actually have some test cams on a VVT in the dyno right now. It's part of the reason we were a little bit late. It took me a minute to get out of there and get everything saved and closed down. So we should have the beginning of some data next week.
That's awesome.
We've got 2 test cams that we've got in there that we're going to try and see what we're doing. So far, it's looking real good.
Yeah, the biggest struggle I think we're going to see in the market, the VVT, is tuning.
Yeah.
Because we see all the shops around the country, the biggest problem we see is tuning's all over the map. You have guys that are really, really good. You have guys that are brand new at it. There's a lot of shops in the middle. And it's going to take someone that really knows what they're doing to tune the VVT, because now you have more tables to tune. You've got a lot more variables on the VVT. So it's going to take tuning to a whole nother level, and the complexity is going to be more, and the amount it's going to cost to get a VVT bike dyno tune is going to go up as well, because the time it's going to take, it's no longer going to be a 3 to 5 hour job. They're going to be probably 5 to 8 possibly, depending on what cams are on the market and how much you're trying to push out of it. So more to come soon. The car market's figured it out. Everyone's got VVT maps out there. They're tuning them. They're doing really cool stuff with them. So our market will adapt.
Mark Rupel, how you doing? Stock Mark, looking for stock Nick. Well, you found me. I'm right here. I see you stock on that Heritage, so good for you, buddy. Actually, I think you got a cam in it too. But there, if you scroll back up, there's a question about twin cam stuff. We talk about it all the time. Give me a call at the shop, 615-771-7775, and we can talk about some twin cam things. I mean, there's so many cam options for that bike because it's been out for 17, 18 years. Give me a shout here and we can go over your riding style and what's done to your bike already. We can figure it out.
And the stock market's looking for you.
The stock market?
Oh, Mark. Stock market.
Stock market. Don't do this. You did this last time. What did you say it was like? This guy keeps commenting on it. Like, no, that's the platform they're using to talk to you on.
Well, now I know. He told me afterwards.
Purchased a 22 with a 131. I need help to see if I'm getting the best performance out of it. We have a pretty good combination for the Screaming Eagle 131s. We use our Moonshine cam, the chromoly woven valve springs with our manifold and injectors, and We get about 150 horse and torque out reliably, so again, if you need us, give us a shout and I can get you hooked up on it.
Yeah, and Patrick, whatever you have, you can email to Nick.
Yeah.
Nick's email is nick@moonshineharley.com. Send us over your dynograph. Send us over what you like about it, what you don't like about it, and we can look at doing something different and adding to it. Or, I mean, if you're happy with the results and the bike feels good and it's snappy, you probably got a really good run on 131.
Can too. We'll get your bike's on the schedule this coming week, I promise. We're waiting for that flywheel to come in.
Yeah, we got the Alpha Series, right?
Yes, we did.
But we will take that bike on trade. It has a high value on trade-in.
It's a beautiful bike.
I know, he takes really good care of it.
We got new CVOs, 24 sitting out there. We can tune them now.
With a VVT cam. By the time you get here from Texas, we'll have it ready for you.
Come on. He'd be like, no, I'm going to keep my bike and just buy that one too. Can you move your keyboard out of our view? Yeah.
Super.
Oh.
All right.
I'll tell
Oh,
you.
man. Great question from Dwight. What are the next round of cams for the cam shootout for the 2024s? I think once we start to get ported heads on the bike and we start to figure out what our bigger cams are doing, like I'll just use a couple cams for reference, like an SNS 550, Fueling 592, Star Racing 3/4 cam, the MHP 588 camshaft, what those do on 131s and 135s with the new heads. We can go over that data, and then I'm pretty sure we're going to have some new cams hit the market that we'll start to have to talk about. I think new cams to the market, by the time we get done testing them, it's going to be 4 to 8 months. But there will be stuff that enters the market that we can throw into the mix as well. And when I listed those 4 or 5 cams, there's a bunch of cams in between those, but most of the cams we'll talk about are the ones we're currently running that we have really good results with. You got any feedback on those cams? Anything else?
No, I think that's pretty well it. Marvel Harris says, do Harley dealerships dyno tune to EPA standards? Well, that's kind of a trick question. If you've got a stock motorcycle and you dyno tune it, you're probably still within EPA standards of noise and output. The purpose of a dyno tune is to take every engine is a little bit different, and if you tune that engine to its most efficient state, then that engine will perform the best. Hopefully, if the tuners themselves are good, they will do that regardless of the engine. It may or may not meet EPA requirements. That just depends on the setup of the engine itself.
Well, in your state. And then the other thing to think about is when these bikes are cruising, built motor or a stock motor, we're almost doing the same fuel-air ratio.
Yeah.
Cruising down the road at 70 with a big motor as we do a small motor, whether it has aftermarket high-performance parts in it or it's a factory OEM setup. It's just because we build a big
You'll still
motor,
get good fuel mileage.
we're not putting a bunch of raw fuel all out the exhaust cruising. I mean, the motor wants the same air-fuel ratio in all reality. I mean, it's going to fluctuate a little, but we're talking points, or a point of a point, fractions of a point compared to it. And all the motors want to be around the same ratio in all reality running.
And Jordan Lee, as Jamie was explaining a few minutes ago, we haven't really developed any cams for the new 117s because the components themselves are so much different. We have to wait until we can start getting data on, the intake design and different heads. And so the cams, it's going to be a whole nother era of cam development over the next 3 or 4 years, I think.
Which is amazing. I love that.
Yeah. I think the cams that we have now for the current M8 platform are great. There's a lot of choices, a lot of really good cams on the market, and you'll see that continue in the new ones. I think the cams on the market right now are going to perform, or they already have performed well. If you look at our dyno results on this stock engine, the 117, we have cams making 121. That was our lowest horsepower cam in this original cam shootout for the center cooled M8. The highest one we had was 134 horsepower. So all the cams are making a lot of power with stock heads and the stock setup. And these are all cams, like we said, that are coming off the bottom pretty hot and heavy. They're a torque cam that makes power. We didn't go with a top end cam or a mid cam for a stock engine. So we had a lot of feedback on that, and that's why we chose these cams. They all pop off the bottom really well.
You have all the graphs, right? Do you have the graph for the MHP 485 and then the 2023 117? Because if you look at that graph, that's pretty much as close as you could get to the same components in a 2023 and a 2024, and the difference is crazy. Plus, that's with the stock throttle body, injectors, all that on the 2024. So on the 2023, where it made 130 torque, and on the 2024 it made 135. On the 23 it made 123 horsepower, and on the 24 it made 131. And it did it, if you were looking at, I know there was a comment earlier about how much it would take. It's about $6,000 to do that build on the 2023, and closer to between $3,500 and $4,000 on the 24 to get more power. So the engine itself is so much more efficient that I don't think we can really compare yesterday to today.
Yeah. And if you don't see a cam on the shootout, it's because it really didn't compete with these cams. It wouldn't be a top performer. We see a lot of guys asking us about the SNS 475, and that's been a really good seller for SNS, but it's soft on the bottom. And it doesn't make as much horsepower as like the CR 480 or our MHP 485. So both of those cams out-torque it out of the hole, and they still out-horsepower the SNS 475 on the top.
Yeah.
So that's why we didn't have that cam in the shootout, and we originally had it in our first M8 cam shootout we did. It's just not as current as it was at one time.
And everybody likes a graph with big numbers, but if you don't have low end torque, you don't feel like you have power, because Harley Davidsons are low end torque machines just from the engine design. They don't spin to 12,000 RPMs. They don't run in super high RPMs. So you want as much power right off idle as you can get. And the biggest complaint that I have had over the last 20 years is it sucks until it's at 3,000 RPMs.
Yeah.
So we don't put cams that have no power at 2,200 RPMs on purpose.
I mean, everyone wants a cam that comes right off the line really well. Cruises low in traffic if they're in traffic all the time for everyday rider. And at one time, we had 3 or 4 different cams we were running in the M8. And over the cams changed and we got better and better cams. We started dropping the 3 cams we were using, and we went directly just only to the MHP 485 because it's so strong on the bottom. It was out-torquing torque cams on the bottom, and it was producing more horsepower on the top range than the other cams on the market too. So when we used to call, if you watch one of our cams shootout number 1, we don't even run any of those cams anymore on bikes. When you call in, we're going to the MHP 485. And the CR 480 was really close to that cam. That's why we highlighted it here. It's not ours, but it was really, really close, and it's a great cam. There's guys out there that are Cyclorama fans, and there's some other cams on the market too, but I think everything's going to evolve pretty quick.
Nick.
I'm just so serious, I guess.
Well, we need you to talk about, so what do you want to talk about?
Let's talk
What do you like to
about-
do on your off time?
On my off time? I hang out with my kids.
Let's talk about Sturgis.
Sturgis was very
Yeah, it was
good.
Sturgis.
It was very nice. It was hot. Traffic was awful. Food was decent. I saw some really cool people. I saw hung out with Sasha Kraus over the Kraus booth for a little bit. I got to ride around the mountains. It was nice. Don't get me wrong. I guess I'm picky and I'm spoiled where I came from for riding. It's just not the same. I don't like a lot of people, I guess, running around. Everyone's kind of going slow and following the rules. And so I like to have a good time. But I don't know, Sturgis was good. When I go back, absolutely. But yeah, it's pretty good.
You told me you basically just hung out at the jail and watched all the DUIs go in.
I wasn't at the jail, but yeah, it was fun.
I mean, you were like across the street, just like, there's another one. There's
Yeah,
another
there was a
one,
lot of people
there's
pulled
another one.
over. The cops were out hot, and it made me not want to leave the park. I didn't want to get in trouble. But we ripped the 110s, and we had a good time, and I'd go back again for sure.
Well, Needles, did you get in line when you got close to
No, I
Needles?
didn't even mess with any of that. I didn't want to deal with it. We
Everyone's
went around
going 5
Custer.
to
We
10
saw
miles
some
an hour.
bison. Some lady was filming some bison for like 5 minutes. I'm like, I'm going around everybody. Everyone's honking at me, yelling at me. I'm like, you can do what you want. I'm moving. I don't want to sit here and burn up. It's a bison. Big deal. I want to see it on my plate, not in person.
Yeah. I don't want her to start charging me either.
Yeah, come on now. But it was fun. I'd go back.
Yeah, Sturgis is cool because the event's so big. It's not in one location. I mean, it literally takes over 5 cities
It was unbelievable.
there.
we were talking about like revenue, what that town makes in 10 days was unbelievable. And then going to go see Black Hills Harley was awesome. That was probably the most bikes I've ever seen in one place in my entire life. There was a lot of cool people there, a lot of cool stuff. So
Yeah.
Hey, your buddy Restream.io
yeah,
is commenting.
he keeps commenting. Who is that guy?
Who's this
Everywhere.
Restream.io guy?
Got so many questions for you.
My favorite cam personally is the MHP 492 because it made a great amount of torque and it made the most horsepower. And I think with this new engine, we're going to see a little bit longer duration and larger lifts because the airflow can handle it.
Yeah, if you guys aren't aware of the different changes from Harley, their intake manifold used to have a round port. And what would happen is most of the air would go towards the back valve and the front valve would starve. So now this is their brand new port design. It's an egg shape, and they are trying to take the corner, this inside corner, and make the radius less of a turn to feed the inside valve so more air makes it in there. So the two valves have a lot of curtain area by them, having a 4-valve head. So you have 2 intakes, a lot of curtain area let in air real fast. So the more air we can get to the inside valve, the more we're utilizing that curtain area. Those 2 intake valves per side are actually able to flow. And they shortened it up too. It's a short manifold now. So the reason they had to do a couple changes here. So we have a cylinder on the table, just so you can see it. What camera are we on? All right.
Camera
This
one.
guy's cut
Camera
because
two.
this guy used to come up straight. So now the center cooled cylinders all have this angle cut on them on this side. That's because the manifold is sitting like so, and they have the throttle body positioned in a different angle, and it's a lot closer to the cylinder than they were before. So before, this guy would sit out like this. Now, they're turned, and they're sitting in. So, nope. Was that turned right? Yeah, that was turned
That was right.
Close enough.
Close enough. But that's the biggest changes, is this setup right here. And now when we go to the real big motors, if you guys are a fan of large cubic inch and you're thinking of 137, one of our 139s, 143, we are going to go back to lengthening it because we want just total volume behind the throttle blade of air. So we don't necessarily have to suck for big motors, make it small. It works really good for the OEM setup. And they're doing some unique things with air cleaners too. We should probably talk about the air cleaners for the new bikes, the center cool bikes, are really, really nice.
They are.
Yeah, they are.
Massive air cleaner. If you've seen the Road Glide SE ST, or you've seen the Street Glide Screaming Eagle ST, monster filter on those bikes. I mean, shoot, it's as big as one of these cylinders on the front of that bike, and they're flowing a lot of air to the throttle body. They're also trying to stack air kind of in front of the throttle body to lengthen the plenum with the ones where they turn the corner, they make a 90, and they have the filter out front as well. The stock CVOs come with that setup, and it's allowing there to be more accessible air for when this throttle body fully opens. And that's another factor of why these motors are running really nice. And then I guess one of the other benefits is the temperature drop of the cylinder head. So when they're running 40 degrees cooler, we can probably bump up timing a little bit. 1 point of timing is worth more horsepower than a whole pound of boost if we can get it in the motor and handle it. So having a cooler head will allow us to be a little more aggressive on the timing because we're able to keep the temperatures
We
down.
need to make that a meme. 1 point of timing is worth a pound of boost.
New shirt.
It's worth more than a pound of boost.
It's a lot
Yeah.
on there, but I think it'll be good on a shirt.
Could do it on the front and the back.
So
Like start on the front, like hold on, let me turn around so you can read the back.
Yeah,
I like
you got to
it.
get the pound of boost.
CVO air cleaner is great. We haven't tapped them out for the bigger motors. For their motor, it's awesome. It just depends on how big you're going to determine if that guy will be able to feed some of these monster builds we do. You know, we've produced engines that easily make 170, 180 horsepower, and we'll have to see how that does on some of the larger builds. But great air cleaner for their bike and for what the motor's doing. It's probably a great air cleaner for their crate engines as well. It's the biggest air cleaner and flows the most air over anything they've ever built, I think.
Yeah. They were kind of playing around with it with that weird looking one that they made just for like a year. That had the big oblong filter, the one that we put on
Joe's bike.
Joe Jeffrey's bike.
Mm-hmm.
They were kind of, I think, experimenting with this design. They did a little bit with the FXDR.
Yeah, the FXDR had one that kind of
Had
lengthened.
this style, like the prelims of this style. And now, yeah, they're really nice.
The next one they come out with, though, from Harley, it's like a ram feature. The filter's on the front of the angle, and it comes right down the face of the filter, which is pretty nice, too.
Yeah, they're really nice. So the whole Screamin' Eagle line has improved greatly.
Yeah. Yeah, we were riding. My buddy had a brand new 24 CVO Road Glide SE, and he had his girlfriend on the back, and he was riding with us the entire time we had built motors. So that bike's fantastic out of the box, 140 pounds of torque-ish. I mean, he was with us the entire time coming up the hills. I was very impressed by that bike.
All the way to 30 miles an hour, huh?
35 actually. So we were ripping for like, slow down. Slow down. We were passing people and they're yelling at us, and I was like, I hope I don't see you at the boar's nest or anything.
Well, I took a CVO out for 2 days straight, and I was on the VVT engine setups, and it was awesome. It's smooth, it's powerful. The only thing I noticed is at maybe 75 miles an hour, it's a little touchy. Had those RPMs running 75, where I found myself not being able to hold the exact speed I wanted. The easiest way to do it, hit cruise control. The guy in front of me, I start catching up to him. I hit negative twice. He starts pulling away from me. I hit positive once or twice, and I just controlled it that way. But ripping in and out of the corners, it was great. I had really good decel coming into the corner. I was rolling through the middle of the corner nice and smooth, and I had a ton of exit power. It performed really, really well right out of the box.
Well.
So, yeah, so really great setup. That bike is a little pricier, but I will tell you the inverted front end, everything on the bikes, it makes a difference. I think my favorite thing besides the new power plant in the motor or in the bike is the braking system.
The Brembos?
The Brembos are a night and day difference having the radial brakes on the bikes. I mean, it was a performance set up out of the box directly from the OEM manufacturer, which was great. I wanted to push the handlebars a little more.
Yeah, nice set of cross bars in there to be perfect.
They have those pins in them.
They were so close. I just wanted like that much more, and I've been perfect.
What is that, a 300 mil rotor on the front from the factory?
Yeah.
It's pretty nice.
No, they're 320s.
Are they 320s?
I think it's a 320 on it right now.
That's amazing.
It's the same size rotor that we were putting on the performance brake systems we were installing before on the old bikes. So I believe it's the 320. I'll have to double check all of them,
huge.
but I'm pretty sure, I'm 95% sure it's a
They
320.
stole all our ideas.
Well, hey,
That's that new guy we hired for a week that left.
I thought he
You're
was
way
taking,
too clean cut to
like,
be
I'm
working.
taking I'm just taking notes. I'm just taking notes.
What's with all the cameras?
well, I think Harley's paying attention to the aftermarket market, and not only that, but the highway bars, the crash guards, all those have changed. They saw what the aftermarket companies were doing. They thought it was a great idea, and when Harley gets their hands on it, you know, we do have a lot of aftermarket parts. Harley's instruction sheets are nice. The finishes, the chrome and the black on the parts are really, really nice. You know, and what's nice is if you need a replacement part, you can get it at any Harley-Davidson dealership in the country, which makes it really nice. Also got into the seat game. Seats have a different...
It's Nagas.
Spell it for me.
Uh-oh, Randy.
N-A-G-A,
It's
Naga.
thinking. You still on?
Sam Mooney.
I've still never known how many Nagas it takes to make one seat.
There we're
It's
back.
like a licked little
The
lollipop.
Naga.
You never know.
Yeah,
It's all different.
I don't know.
Sam Mooney, you're asking like which brake calipers are better, Behringer or Brembo? It's preference. We use both here at the shop. I've ridden with both. They're all really, really good. We are going towards using a lot of Brembo calipers lately. The quality is very good. I can say that all three of us have Behringers on our bikes.
Yep.
And I'm considering taking mine off and trying the Brembos and just trying it. It's nice when I can use parts that I can sell at the same time. So I'm like, hey, I've used both of them. This is my feedback with it, so it's easy to talk to you guys about which one I prefer, but everyone's a little different with it.
I have Brembos.
You have Brembos on yours? Oh, see, Mike's ahead of the game. He's had them for like 2 years, maybe.
3
on there?
years.
Yeah.
3 years.
They're both awesome
The
calipers.
M450s. Yeah, they're both really good.
Yeah, I haven't had any problem. I've run Behringers on my bike, but Brembos are a little better on the wallet than maybe the Behringers. So we stock both. We typically have both in stock at all times. What makes us different than most dealerships or most companies out there is we stock a very, very large inventory. Exhaust pipes, intakes,
Cylinder heads, wheels.
pistons, cylinders, BSTs, intake manifolds. When everyone was back ordered on Harley intake manifolds, we had our ported MHP 66 millimeter intake manifolds, compensators, valve springs. So if you guys are needing parts and you can't get them locally, call us at the shop. We don't have everything online. We have a really small percentage of what we have out there online. Something we had that no one had during COVID was tires.
Yeah.
Mike ordered all the tires ever made for a motorcycle during COVID, so no other dealership can get them. We still have some.
An actual semi-truck
21s.
load at a time. It was
21s.
ridiculous.
So that makes us a little different. So if you guys are trying to track down parts, we can help you out.
Right when I ordered all those 21-inch tires, they stopped making motorcycles with 21-inch wheels.
Yeah.
Oops.
Yeah. But we have them if you need them.
We have them. If you need an 80-90-21, call me.
Super homie bro discount.
Yes. It's going to be through the side door, but we can't violate map policy, but I don't know. One might just get left out there with a little jar
It's not a Harley
to
tire.
put money in.
It's not a Harley tire.
Well, the aftermarket guys have map policies too.
No, we just can't advertise. You got to call us.
You got to call us. That's what I mean. We'll just happen upon stuff.
Oh man, tonight's going to be a fast one for a lot of
That
questions.
Ryan B got put on KST bars. Hey, they're for the money you can't beat them, but they are. There's a reason that they were $200 cheaper than the Yaffies.
Well, my favorite is when the cutouts for the fly-by-wire throttle tube is on the opposite side.
Sometimes, yeah. But you know, they're American made. There's two guys that I think, you know, take a couple bong hits in their garage and then they go weld the bars. And then you've never talked to them on the phone, huh?
No.
They're pretty laid back. Oh man, we'll get it. We'll fix it, man. We'll send you another pair right away.
We off again?
One was half asleep when they made mine. Hey, did you contact them before you installed them? Because they would have probably just sent you a whole other set, and it
Yeah.
would have been there in like 2 days.
MHP 485, we're on a stock cubic inch, we'll run the 485. Now, seeing the test results on the center cooled MA. Are we offline again?
Keeps going in and out. It comes right back on though.
Okay.
And they keep saying that we're cutting in and out volume or audio too.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's on there.
So the other thing is now in the center cooled M8s, if you're running, you know, just yourself, you're not loaded down, you're ripping all the time, 492 runs out the back door for stock heads and that setup. If you are riding a heavier bike and you're never really going over 5,000 RPMs, most of your riding is from 2 to 3,500, that's where the MHP 485 is going to shine. Or if you're riding double up, 2 up, you're weighted down, the 485 is going to be the better cam. The 492 on the center cooled M8 is going to be for someone that wants the most power at the top end, and they're okay sacrificing a little bit out of the hole.
Hey Barry, for your 120, just give Nick a call. What's the number, Nick?
615-771-7775.
Randy, you're
I gotta
making
dial.
us look bad.
Why?
Super Glide Mustang over here.
Super glide. But
Super Glide Mustang. When it comes to performance, the Moonshine Cats are cool, but when it comes to their live stream, sound level, they need to go to school.
well, he's a Ford guy, so it doesn't really mean anything.
You're connected. You're hard lined in, aren't you?
Yeah, that sounds fun.
On the internet?
Well, the guy said Temu internet,
That was loud.
Chinese internet. Hey, I'm just going to Bidenomics.
Dwight, the 492 and the 475 need some compression. So if you run like a 124 to a 132 on stock heads, the 475 will have more bottom end, but the 492 just has a broader range of power the entire time. So that's why it's nicer to use. The 475 was probably one of the first cams to come out for the M8. So, they started so early in the process where the
Yeah.
492s has so much better development the whole time. So, the 492 is hard to beat. There's probably,
Those probably came out in like August of 2017.
it was one of the first
And-
ones to drop.
And September of 2017, we were like, do not put these in stock bikes.
They were great at first, and they're great with compression, but they're not awesome off the bottom end.
But the SNS 465,
Well,
if you put
Dwight's asking on
in
his
stock.
2024.
On the 2024, I would do the MHP in 492.
Yeah.
Because the game is different now.
Yeah.
Because you're going to get 135 horsepower on the 492 with a much broader bottom end.
Yeah, and it's still making, as soon as you roll onto the throttle, it's making 120 foot-pounds of torque. So you still have plenty down there. Now, if you're loaded down to up riding, we would move you to a 485. But if you're riding mostly by yourself and you want to rip, 492 on the brand new center cooled M8. The Cyclorama 515, that'll come when we start to do some other motors that require some other 500 lift cams. We'll get into the Fueling 592. That's been a really, really good performer on larger cubic inch M8s with heads on them. When we start going through these motors with some high performance heads on them, we will dive into the cams that get installed in those bikes. This is for stock platform center cooled M8s right now.
Ryan B, yes, the 492 is a drop-in cam for the 23.5 and later machines.
William Wade, your 135, we can go to a 143 on your flywheel setup. It requires a larger case bore, so we got to rebore your case. But you can easily go to a 143 or a 139.
Mark, how you doing? Yeah, we haven't really tested any of the Harley 135 crate motors yet, but if I had to guess, we would probably use a 592 cam in it with some nice valve springs and a larger injector, and it would probably work very well. We haven't really done anything with it yet, but hopefully soon. We're putting a 135 in his bike, crate SC motor.
Yeah, the 592 would be great because it's going to make a ton of torque.
Yeah.
And it'll still make horsepower. I mean, on our 131 setups, that cam, sometimes we get 160, 160 square on that. And something to think about too, when you're running exhaust on these bikes, especially bigger motors, exhaust is one of the main components of your dynograph. If you don't have the right exhaust, you can lose 10 horsepower real easily. The right exhaust, you're making more than 10 horsepower than some of these other ones. And your curve, so a really good designed exhaust system is crucial for getting all the performance out of the bike.
Hi, Benjamin. Hi, Rowan. Hi, Mom. Yeah, obviously, I'm a big Thunderheader fan. Every time I talk in here, I always talk about the Thunderheader. On my 128, I'm using the Fueling 592, Screaming Eagle, piston and cylinder kit on a short stroke. I'm a little over 160 horse, and I travel on it, travel from my house to work, and I have a good time with that setup, so it's very nice for me. It's a good cam to run. I probably had 5 different cams on that bike in the last 2 years, and I've landed it back on that one. We sell a lot of the 592s, and I was trying to get away from it, but it's hard to beat when it makes all the power and torque.
I told him what to run. He didn't listen to me. And then he had to swap it. It's okay.
Hey,
you
it's
can buy
okay.
more parts from us. That's fine.
It's fine.
Good. It's cool.
You never know.
Question for Mike right here. How's the oil pump on the center cooled M8? Did you notice any changes?
They have the oil pump and the cam plate are the same.
Yeah, I think maybe the size of the gerotor in them might be a little bit different. I don't know if
I
they're.
don't know if they are a different part number.
Is it the same? We'll have to
I
check
think it's
that.
the same. I think in the 2020 or 2021 iteration is the latest and greatest. I think they worked out all their issues back then. As far as stock goes, I mean, you're never going to get the stability of a billet
Yeah.
plate
And
if you use stock cast material, but
our favorite pump and plate is the Screaming Eagle orange one. It's been awesome. I have it in all my big motor builds on my personal bikes. The only thing we found on that plate that we don't like is Harley's engineers, when they designed it, didn't leave enough room for big cams, real big cams. You can run about a 575 lift, and that's about it. Maybe, yeah, I'd say 575. And it's the exhaust lobe that's really close to that guy. So there's cams we run, like a 592. We actually have to take that guy to our machine. We have to modify the cam plate, which we do. We keep them in stock, and then we can run any cam on the market on it. But that was the only thing on that one we didn't like, but we solved it by our machine shop, and we're rocking and rolling. But that is our go-to. And then there's the other brands too. But Harley learned a lot on the King of the Bagger series, and they came out with that pump and plate setup for their race bike, and then it trickled down to the rest of the bikes in the market.
NorCal, yeah, that's probably the biggest improvement for your bike reliability would be changing the compensator. It's not an if it's going to break, it's a when it's going to break. If you're harder on the bike, 50,000 miles, you might be time to take it apart and change the spring pack and put a nice comp in there too. So, just preventive maintenance is all it is.
Well, does he have a comp ramp?
He says it's all stock.
Yeah, so we would do the MHP compensator ramp, just because of how that material's made. We've never seen a broken
I
one.
can't believe you don't have one here.
Yeah, you have to have one in your
It's
pocket.
actually,
Check this guy.
yeah,
left it on the
there's got to be
table.
one in here somewhere.
Yeah, and then springs. What happens is that thing works nonstop when the bike's sitting there idling. Your spring pack on behind that compensator is just moving in and out, and they get fatigued. So replace those guys. And if you guys already have an MHP compensator set up in your bike, just buy the OEM Harley spring packs. Don't go aftermarket companies. The OEM has a lot of engineering in those. They have a lot of time on those. Those are our favorite spring packs behind the stock compensator setup.
Lozo 454. The difference between the Chromeworks 2-to-1, the Outlaw, and the D&D, kind of similar. The D&D is a tried and true exhaust system. We've put it on a lot of bikes. We just put an Outlaw pipe on our VVT that we're working with too. They're both really, really good. The difference between the two brands is that Chromeworks offers a smoke chrome, the Eclipse, the Obsidian colors, so it matches the new CVO stuff too, but they're all pretty nice.
Yeah, they're similar.
Yeah.
Can you scroll back up just a touch, Randy?
I think the D&D will perform better above 150 horsepower.
Yeah.
Ryder Vivo, this is for you, Nick. He wants to know what cam to put in his 117 Softail with HPI exhaust.
Without a doubt in my mind, Moonshine 485. We'll pair that out with the Harley Screaming Eagle 64 mil throttle body intake manifold. If you're revving the bike out higher, maybe run our ported 66 in the back of that throttle body, and easily 120 horse, over 130 pounds of torque. Big fan of HPI's pipes on the bikes and the Softails. They look nice.
Sound good?
Sound great. Quality's unbelievable. Their welds are unbelievable. But yeah, 485 all day long. I'm like, you think I'm partial because I work here, but the 485 is by far the best cam you can put in that bike for an M8
Hey,
117.
Nick, Danny Smith's question is for you.
Recommend a cam. Oh, Moonshine 485 cam.
MHP.
MHP 485 cam. Pair it with the Screaming Eagle 64 mil throttle body and intake manifold. If you rev it higher, use our Moonshine ported 66 manifold on the backside.
Yeah, I mean, that's what we're running on stock head, stock cubic inch. It
Yeah.
just, it out torques, we can't say it too many times. It out torques a torque cam, it out horsepowers most of the horsepower cams on a stock setup. So you're getting the best of both worlds. Now, there are a couple of cams where you get some more ponies on the very top, but you'll sacrifice a ton of torque on the bottom. This is the one that has the best of both lines out there. And like we said earlier on this live, we used to run 3 or 4 camshafts on the M8 before. That one camshaft took care of all of them. And that's our go-to. Now, if we're building a 131 for a customer, our favorite cam in a 131 with a good set of heads for everyday rider, we love the 592 fueling camshaft. You know, it's not our camshaft. So we're not just recommending that because it's our own. If we're running a big boy cubic inch motor, we went to the Star 615. That was the best cam for those big ones because it had a lot of duration. That cam is now the MHP 615 full send because Star made a new cam and they allowed us to take that cam over. We have a really good relationship with Star Racing and George, and if you need a 615, it just has our name on it now, and we sell them and distribute them.
Like I said earlier, the reason why the 485 is so good is it came late in the game. There was probably 30 different camshafts before that cam was made.
Yeah.
So we took, or Star took, all that information and kind of developed his own thing with it. And by the time it hit the market, he did his own twist to it. And it's like, hey, I can do this, I can do that, and make really good bottom end power on it, and kind of extend that lower power range on the bike too.
Well, George is really good buddies with one of the best cam guys we've ever seen in drag racing. And, you know, when George needs something, he looks to him for help, and they work as a team to build something really good, you know. So we have a really good commitment. Oh, Randy.
Randy, come on.
We're gone.
Hey,
It's like going
hey, Dagan, can you take over?
It's back on.
All right.
And we're back.
We're
Sorry,
back.
We had to take a small break for our sponsors.
Um,
Tanner told me about the MHP.
Starves the top end of oil on
Cam
an
has
idle.
yeah.
what?
Maybe we should find a different tuner because it's irrelevant to
Yeah.
putting oil through the motor.
Cam doesn't dictate the oil.
Someone asked earlier about using a 5-inch stroke and a 5-inch bore. I don't even know what that would come out to a cubic inch, but it seems like a lot of stroke on the M8. I like a short stroke motor, 4 3/8 short stroke with a big bore. RPMs quickly.
Do it. Do it.
Barry S., what is the drawbacks, if any, of boring out your cylinders from 4.060 to 4.125? I think that the setback there is you're paying for all the gaskets and everything you need to rebuild the whole top end. Why limit yourself to the 4.125? At that point, if you're using a stock case, we'd recommend going to the Harley 4310 cylinders. They're awesome. They run really good. Yeah, we also have our MHP. They are a 4.313 cylinder with our rings and our pistons in them. It just depends on your head setup. We have 2 different domes on those pistons for cams that close early, and then we have bigger domes for cams that close later. So we think you're just limiting yourself with that bore since you're spending all the money on the gasket already that you need.
And plus the cylinder sleeve is so thin at that point.
Yeah, well, not really because...
You're going to bore a factory
But
cylinder over 60?
Yeah, you can go. They're so big. Is that a factory cylinder? Yeah.
It's pretty thick, I guess.
Yeah,
you do more than I do. You're the machine all day long.
Yeah, I'm touching them all day. So, I mean, these guys are thick, but man, I don't know. If I have the whole motor apart, I just have to buy pistons, cylinders, and rings, and I got something big. I'm going bigger every time if I can. I might max it out if I have the whole motor apart.
5x5.
5x5. Coming soon.
Go 5x5.
Well, we have a new 4.625 bore. You want a 4.625? We got you. So these things are big. The M8 is just a beast.
On the twin cam, you might not have enough cylinder wall. Because if you get too thin, the heat is going to cause the wall to distort. And I don't know what it would do for longevity.
Barry's running that on his 120 ST. Man, the 120s.
Those are nickel sealed too.
Yeah, we wouldn't bore the 120 cylinders. We would call Jim's. Jim's produces a larger cylinder for that engine setup. And they still have the pistons, they still have the cylinders, rings, everything you need for that 120R. Great engine. He's got a 131 kit. I think he's got a 131 setup for that motor as well.
Yeah, Chase, we're really big fans of full stack still. We usually put those on trikes. We're trying to make all the torque, so we'll tighten up the outlet pipe or the inlet pipe on the trike, which is 1 5/8 inch from full stack. We'll run that, what Mike was talking about earlier, the SNS 465, some Chromeworks mufflers, get you all the torque on the trike because it's so heavy off the bottom, but we still use full stack all the time.
Or if, on a stock bike, if, like a cam is all you're ever going to do, full stack is perfect.
It's fantastic, yeah.
Because you don't need the extra room.
What are the wait times like right now if you want an engine build? It all depends. Like stage 2s, I can probably knock you out the end of this month. Some larger stuff, it all depends when we can fit you in. But right now we're booked up mid to end September. Our big stuff, we're working in October a little bit. It all depends what you want to do. Again, some stage 2 stuff. How it usually works, if I can get your bike in, I can have one of my guys build them. I have Shane or Sid actually tune the bike after they build it. But we are seeing very blessed. We are very busy still with everything. Usually a stage 2 is about a day and a half, 2 days. 128 stock bottom end with refurbished cylinder head. We put new springs on is about 3 days. If we do something larger, like a 120 with heads or a bottom end, I'll need your bike for about 5 days or so, just to get everything worked out, dyno tune and fit it in. The dyno stays running all the time. I think we've worn out 2 dynos since I've been here. So yeah, we're very, very lucky for how busy we are. I get stressed out with all the notes on my desk, but we'll work through and work late and get you guys taken care of as soon as I can. Could you cam swap in the same day? But by the time we get it built, tuned, washed, prepped back to you, generally speaking, I give it back to you the next day. I like to wash your bike, make sure it's right, to put some miles on it. So if we have to do it in a day, we can try, but I'd rather have it an extra day just to make sure it's perfect.
Well, just schedule an extra day just in case. If we get it done a day early, you're good, because sometimes, it goes together and we need a different part. Or something's not working correct on the dyno. We got to swap an injector. It takes a little longer. So you never know what's going to pop up. Most of them stay right on time, but it's hard when you are traveling and we have such a tight timeline. Always give yourself a little buffer zone there.
Yeah, if I tell you 3 days, it's probably really 2.5 days, but just takes time, like you said. Sometimes we get backed up in the dyno. Like today, we were tuning that VVT bike all day. It took all day for Shane and Mike to tune that bike. It was just learning it and getting everything figured out.
Still tuning it.
Still tuning it, yeah.
Well, we're also creating stuff from scratch that's never been really designed yet for those maps. So a lot of work, but
it's worth it.
That's why we got Mike.
Uncle Dirt has one for you, Nick.
Uncle Dirt. 2019 Fat Boy 114 Thunderheader. I already like him. He probably is my uncle. HBI intake, throttle body. I love to lower to mid power range versus mid to upper. Yeah,
Swap the cam.
Yeah, swap the cam, increase your cubic inch. You're going to hear me say it again. The 485 on a larger cubic inch is awesome on bottom end power. But your Fat Boy is so light, you might really appreciate the 492 just because you'll have so much torque, you might blow the tire off that sucker.
He's got a stock 114.
Well, he's got a 119, stock 114. So if you want to keep the 475 SNS cam,
go to a 128.
Oh, torque. I
yeah,
read that wrong.
We're going to go to a 128 kit, and we have them. We have them. They're only $2,300.
Yeah.
It's about $1,000 cheaper than we're seeing on the internet out there for some of the other kits right now. And it's the SNS Moonshine Power Pack they put together for us. Call Nick. We have them in 124s, 128s. And then, of course, SNS has released their new 129s and their 132s. We have those coming up with our little twist on them soon. So if you guys want one of those kits, you can. So if you increase your cubic inch, you'll love that 475 cam.
Yeah.
If you're going to stay with that cubic inch and you just want to swap the cam to get that mid and lower torque numbers up, we would go with the MHP 485 camshaft.
I always say to people are like, I made 117 horse and 129 torque. Awesome. Let me see your dyno graph. Let me see how much torque you made at 2,500 RPM. They're like, oh, I'm at 100 pounds of torque. Well, that's your camshaft you chose for it. So.
Yeah, and sometimes it's dyno graphs are deceiving. Mike talks about this all the time. You know, we look at the top numbers, but then we can give you a bike that maybe makes 8 horsepower less than your bike. And you go ride it, you come back, you're like, holy shit, this has way more power than my bike. Because it's not the top number. You're only hitting that top horsepower when you're hitting that RPM, okay? When you're between 2,000 and 4,000, which is almost every time you go through a gear, you're hitting all that lower RPM in the meet in the middle. So sometimes when we have a motor that makes a lot of power down low, it feels like it has more total power because it's just the total curve and how much torque the motor is actually making.
Sam, what cam for the SNS 128 kit? Stock heads, 492X. Aftermarket heads, we start at a 550 SNS and we work up to a 592 fueling.
The other thing we see a lot is intake manifolds. Everyone thinks when we put a bigger intake manifold on these M8s that we're going to lose low end power. And it's just not the case. The main reason is a 4-valve cylinder head. Having a 4-valve cylinder head, we need to feed those valves. Anytime we can feed those valves at low lift, the motor makes more torque. We've never increased the volume of an intake manifold on an M8 yet and lost torque from it. Every time we give those valves more air sooner, the torque picks up in the low end. And it's just because of the 4-valve head now. And it's real deceiving. So if you are doing a cam job and you're trying to get the best results, we sell the Moonshine Horsepower 66 millimeter ported intake manifolds. It will pick up power and torque over the OEM Harley-Davidson 64 millimeter intake manifold. So we keep them on the shelf. They're always here. We try to stock 50 of them at all times because we go through them. That guy with a Harley-Davidson 64 millimeter throttle body, you'll make power.
And Scuba Medic, sounds like you got a pretty good setup going. You're going to want to do something with your clutch. I would either do an SE Screaming Eagle 10 plate with the 1275 inch springs or a aftermarket clutch like the Recluse so that you can handle the additional power because the stock one won't hold it.
Kevin Jarvis, yes, we tune trikes. We build them all the time. I had a guy last week, had 117,000 miles on the original 117 cubic inch with the factory bottom end. And it was surprisingly in really good shape on the inside. And he rode it here from Arkansas, and he rode it home when he left here. He got here, we did put a brand new flywheel on that bike, new pistons and cylinders. R&R the head with our valve spring, and he was on his way. He did a cam with me probably 2 years ago, maybe a little less than that, and great guy, but it was surprisingly in very, very good shape. He saw some normal wear and tear on the pistons and like the cam chain tensioner, but it's in good shape for 117,000 miles.
Yeah, I mean, as long as you're changing your oil at the intervals you need to change it at, it's going to stay nice inside the motor and clean. You know, we can tell when we tear apart a motor to build it, we can tell when you didn't change your oil a lot. The whole inside the motor is discolored. You know, someone that changes their oil a lot, the inside of the motor might have a tint of gold in it, but it won't be brown. When you don't change your oil, we pull your motor apart and it's brown and black in some spots. You miss some intervals.
I was just talking to some guy today about that. I'm like, I pulled a bike apart here, and or Shane or Sid did, and it was brown and gold on the inside. I'm like, this thing has never had the oil changed. You know, if it has, there's few and far between.
Change the oil. These things get hot.
Yeah.
The head temps we see on an M8, you know, this isn't the new center cooled one because they're about 40 degrees cooler. They get up to 380 degrees. It's a hot motor, and it's just cooking that oil. So the oil, it just doesn't last as long as it would if it was in a better environment.
You know, Rob Lace, I wouldn't change anything. You might get a little bit of horsepower out of the 592, but you're probably not riding at 5,800 RPMs all that often. And for the amount of money that it's going to cost to change the cam and the components to go with it and then get it retuned, you're not going to get a return on your investment. I would just leave it where it's at.
Yep.
Yeah, don't be like me. Don't keep changing the camshaft because you see a new freshie out there.
Now, if you have more money than you need and you want to get the horsepower up, you can.
And you just have
But-
nothing else to do.
Yeah, your setup's great.
Yeah.
But we can squeeze her a little bit, but we don't want you to spend a couple grand for, 5 to 8 horse.
Yeah.
You might lose a little torque too. That 540 is a good cam.
$3,000 for set for 10 horse. It's not a big return.
But if you want to do it, we'll do it for you.
We will do it.
We will also take the bike in on trade because we want 2019 Road Glides, and we can just put you on a 24 with a new cam.
Yeah.
Yeah, Ryan, oil changes anywhere from 2,500 miles to 5,000. You're doing it right doing that. I mean, always preventative maintenance is huge for these bikes, getting the oil out of there, especially if you know you got a little hot.
Joseph, the 610 cam, it's, the valve springs, as long as we have our new MHP 640 valve springs, we've never had one break yet.
Sure.
So as long as we're running those valve springs, we're not worried about that 610 cam. Now, to get to that valve spring took 3 years. It took us going through a lot of other manufacturers' valve springs until we were done running everyone else's. That spring is made by PSI. It is a high dollar spring. It's more expensive than the ones in the market, and there's a reason. It is it's robust and it handles it. It's a lighter spring than most of the other springs on the market as well, so your valve train likes it. Yeah, we're not worried.
Only spring I sell.
Uncle Dirt, your bike,
Aftermarket Nick versus
Yes.
stock Nick.
you'll be fine with the 128. They don't hurt the bottom end at all.
Well, aftermarket Nick doesn't
Call-
happen until after 10.
Call Nick. What's the number, Nick?
It's 615-771-7775.
He'll take care of you, Uncle Dirt.
I think split, right? And I think aftermarket Nick is like fresh beard cut, fresh haircut, and like a suit.
No,
which never happens.
No. Aftermarket Nick, you saw at Sturgis on his CRF 110.
Oh,
in the
you
pits.
did. If you saw me at the Buffalo chip on a rev limiter, it's probably me on the 110.
That is the aftermarket Nick.
I like it.
No shirt on.
Oh,
Vans,
so you saw me.
shorts.
You saw me there.
Just, "Wah, wah, 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 wah."
Pizza in one hand, beer in the other. I was riding with my knee.
The only thing I didn't understand was the guy on the back.
I would leave the 550 cam unless you wanted
was
to
a
do a
friend,
radical
okay.
motor change.
You need to ride to the restroom.
Why were you gone for so long?
Oh, man.
Yeah, Ryan, we have loaners. They're a brand new bike. You just have to pay about 30 grand for the loaner. We can get you one next door.
Cut him off. Go back to not blinking.
Look what you guys created. Jason Clark builds with the new SNS case for the M8. We haven't done them, and the main reason is SNS made that because guys were breaking cases, and it was mostly drag race guys. When you take out the stator assembly on these race motors, the cases were breaking. We have never had a case break on one of our 143s yet, and we really don't need it now. If you want to spend the money to get that cool case, awesome. We'd love to build it for you. But we don't really need it. We don't have a problem we're trying to fix by going to a real expensive case. We'd rather take that couple $1,000s and invest it somewhere else in your engine, your transmission, your brakes, your suspension. Now, if you already have everything and you want to buy the case too, absolutely. Now, if you're looking to have something done and you want it done at our shop quicker, we can buy the S&S case. This is probably the biggest advantage we have with that brand new case.
It's true.
You can order that S&S case with us. We can have it bored, all done and ready. You can drive your bike here, and we can build the bike in 2 or 3 days.
Yeah.
And have it back. And you had your bike the whole time. We had the casework and everything done. Otherwise, if we're boring your case,
We have to have the.
we're pulling your case out, so you got to wait for your bike's got to be here. It's got to get scheduled, go on a lift, gets pulled out, goes to Dark Horse. That's a week of shipping. It's a week of shipping back. Dark Horse is going to have that case for 2 to 6 weeks, depending on the workload at their shop. So if you want to buy one of the SNS cases, we can have it here. We can send it, get it built, have everything ready. You show up, the build's quick.
And even if you order another case from Harley, the federal government has guidelines as to how long we can have 2 motorcycles in the wild with the same VIN.
Yep.
So we have to have your case within a certain amount of time, and we've struggled with that in the past. So the SNS is the way to go
Yeah.
in that instance.
And that's the biggest benefit to it.
Hey Bob, I'd run 60 weight all day long in the summer in Arizona.
Would you
Just make sure you don't really start hammering on it for a good 10 or 15 minutes to let the oil get to viscosity so it's thin enough to actually go through the passages. It might make a little noise when you start it up, but you'll be fine.
Turn music up.
RL, the difference between them is the 66, you just get a little more. All right, so
2 millimeter.
yeah, I mean it's maximizing. So if you have a 66 millimeter intake manifold and you have our heads and you want to maximize them, we'll do a 66 millimeter throttle body, and that allows you to run our air cleaner setup, which is a really nice air cleaner setup. I mean, the breather ports on it are larger for larger cubic inch engines. It's got a filter that flows enough air for 200 plus horsepower, and then it can bolt to that guy too. But if you already have a 64 and the bike's tuned, I would continue to rock it. If you're looking at building a bike and you're piecing stuff together right now and you haven't bought it, we would go 66.
Jason in Arizona, you know, my old crew at Superstition Harley-Davidson, they have the guys that can do the work, but I don't know what the status of the dealerships is these days in Arizona, and I have heard tell that there aren't a whole lot of people that are doing anything cool out there anymore because they're afraid of the crackdowns that the neighboring states are bringing on them. So I'm not really sure.
Customers are slowing down.
It's getting late.
It's a school night.
How many days were you in Sturgis?
I was in there for 5 days.
5 days.
Well, 4 days.
You stayed at the
nights.
Buffalo Chip?
I did. It was
In a tent?
no. We had a camper.
Camper?
I could not survive in a tent. I'm too old for that.
It's too hot.
I was in a bunk bed actually on the top of the thing. I was sleeping like super tight in there. I was like, I can't do this. I almost went home on Sunday. If we had a flight, I would have left on Sunday and came home early. But I put my big boy pants on and I hung out for one more day.
Was that the right spot to stay? Did you like staying there?
In my older years, no. I would probably rent a house and being a little farther out, like in Deadwood, where it's really beautiful. But in my younger years, 100%, because it's wild there. Like you said, we're on the 110s. We're enjoying ourselves. There's no curfew. When the concert ended for Travis Tritt, everyone met at the middle spot. Everyone's doing burnouts and having a good time. And before you know, it's 3 o'clock in the morning. I'm going back to the trailer, I'm waking up early and going for a ride. But I would do it all over again. I complain now, or I complained then, but I do it all over again. It was a good time.
If you're setting up a trip to Sturgis and you're going to rent a house, make sure you look at the roads leading up to that house, because you'll find a really nice house in Deadwood that you have to drive 5 miles down a dirt road to get to.
You're not lying.
They're you know, and they're upgrades. You have switchbacks and stuff. So if you've never been to Sturgis and you're trying to rent a house there, make sure you know the path home and check it out before you rent on your Airbnb or VRBO.
last year that happened to us. We ate food in Sturgis, and then we head to Mount Rushmore. It was about 9 o'clock at night, and yeah, we got stuck down a dirt road for about 5 miles. It was awesome, kind of.
Yeah, and then when you're in Sturgis and you put in like buffalo chip and your GPS takes you down a dirt road sometimes.
It does. The back way in's all dirt.
Tom, a Superstition, is your guy. He's super good. And we are working right now on cylinders, heads, and all the goodies. We're testing cams right now in the dyno. We have 2 sets of cams that we're testing as we speak that hopefully we should have some feedback of whether or not those cams are worth anything, or we go back to the drawing board in the middle of next week. So they're coming.
Billy, first upgrades for your Road Glide, man, depends on you. If your back's not killing you and your shoulders aren't killing you or your neck while you're riding and you want the bike louder, I like exhaust. If you're having fatigue in your arms and stuff while riding and it's causing a problem, you might want to do the risers and bars first. Up to you, man. Both options are great.
Yeah. I say like the starter pack great upgrade is a set of rear shocks, stage 2 really, good seat and bars, and that's when your bike is probably the comfiest it can ever be.
Yeah.
And then start working way more on the motor. Suspension's probably a #1 thing for you, especially if you have a passenger. A good set of rear shocks on the back of that bike is huge for your passenger.
Luke S. He wants to know when we'll have goodies for a 24 CVO ST. Hey, we got 2 143 builds coming for the brand new 24 CVO STs. When we get them done, we'll have videos on them. We'll post them, put them online. But we have all the parts designed. We just haven't put one on the dyno to see the end result. But it's going to be great. So we have the stuff ready. You'll see it start to trickle out next month. You want to tackle Ryan B?
Ryan B. We have not turboed any center cooled motors yet. We've done a few of the traditional Gen 1 M8s on with turbos. They're fantastic. We did one that was like 230 horse and 200 pounds of torque at 3,000 RPM, and it's a beast. If you want to tackle it, we'll do it for you, but it's a lot of power.
Well, the turbo is a whole nother beast on the
It is.
Harleys because it's an air-cooled motor. We'd rather you build a motor with the power you need than to stick a turbo on top of it. Now, if you want it because you like turbos, you want the sound, it's a second bike, we can build it. I mean,
Yeah.
we have a 135 turbo kit with a special piston, ring set up, a camshaft
Custom
for the
cam.
turbo. We've had to O-ring cylinders and the gaskets to hold the power, and they make a ton
It's ridiculous.
of torque and power, so it's a beast to ride. Hold on.
Andrew West, I think my favorite shock so far is the Olin's rear shock on the back of the Lowrider S. Multi-adjustable, quality's there. Not many people do as well the job as Olin's. That's why Screaming Eagle and Harley went with Olin's, because they have the highest quality shock you can put on a bike.
Mark, hey, I see your comment down there. I think Harley's figuring that out. As you know, most of the dealerships, we're pretty strong and we don't have those beliefs. We know who our customers are and who we are. So support your local dealer. Everything will fix itself soon.
Mark Ripple, if you put a turbo on the Heritage, I'll definitely film you riding that bike.
If
Billy-
you do, though, you need to polish the motor.
Yes, Paul. Oh, I love when he did that. Full polish case and everything was awesome.
You have one available on your desk.
I do, actually. If you guys are looking for a built motor ready to go, we have a 143 cubic inch
Fully
full-
show polished.
CVO cases, billet cylinders from us, the Frankenstein polish heads. It is gorgeous. Call me at the shop, email me, Nick at Moonshine Harley. I can get out tomorrow if you really want it.
Yeah.
It's a good setup. 180 plus horsepower with a good tune and a good pipe.
Yeah, the case is granite, so it's the CVO color. So two things, we can either paint it so it can go back black, or we can just paint your transmission to match it, and then you'll have a CVO colored engine in your non-CVO.
Ooh, that'd be nice too.
A couple options. It's pretty.
It's very pretty.
It's pretty.
I'll make the case any
Why
color
didn't you carry it
want.
up here?
I can get it right now. I'll be right back.
All right.
I'm not carrying nothing all the way.
Cool. Yeah, let's see it.
Could you imagine?
Come on, aftermarket Nick.
If Jeremy's here, Jeremy will do it. He lives for that kind of lifting.
Who's Jeremy?
It's your twin.
Oh man. All right, what other questions we got here?
23 tri-glide, doing cam full exhaust and breather will upgrade intake make much difference. Yeah, Kevin, trike's heavy. You do a nice SNS 465 with that full sack in there. Huge difference for your bike for rideability.
Free running. New Jersey's all you, Mike.
Yeah, I always recommend tuning the stock ECM. It's a faster processing board, and the ThunderMax is good if you have limited options, but keeping the stock ECM and tuning that is going to give you the best performance, and it's half the price.
Yeah. Bushmaster, why don't you build more 147s? We can. Just the 147's a stroker, just like the Harley 135.
We have his 147 for sale. What's the number, Nick?
615-771-7775.
Call us, Bushmaster. We have your 147 built on a bike already.
I'll
It's
answer
down
the
at our
phone.
showroom.
I'll be there.
Yeah, it's just a stroker motor, so we try to stay away from that big stroke because the standard stroke, which is the 4.5, we have a short stroke and now we have a standard stroke, and now Harley has a stroker setup. The standard stroke's 4.5 inch. That's a huge stroke already.
It really is.
I mean, if you go into big block Chevys and stuff, that's a big stroke.
Yes.
A lot of those LS motors or Coyote motors have less stroke than that by far, half an inch less. So we already have a really stroked flywheel in there, a lot of movement on the piston, a lot of ring speed, a lot of piston speed. So that's why we like the 143. Now we can easily do a 147. A couple ways to do it. We need either a short rod to keep the cylinders at the same height, or we have to build a pair of RCNC cylinders to make this a little taller, so it'd be like a tall deck motor. But we can do it. It would be a custom build. No problem. Give Nick a call. We'll get you set up. But the 143 makes more power than a street tire can typically handle, and it's a beast, so I don't know if we really need to do all that. Now, if you're just building a drag bike, there's 154s we can do. There's all kinds of stuff we have options for. So if you need it, call us. We'll help you.
5x5.
5x5. Boom. That's the motor.
That
Is the ticket. I want that.
The 24 shootout bike had a Screaming Eagle 10-plate clutch with 1275 N springs in it. So it is Harley clutch, but it is not a stock clutch.
Well, something else that's cool that hit the market is the new clutch from Recluse.
The Apex.
The Apex. So now if you're building something 170 horsepower or more, the Apex clutch setup is the setup.
That Apex clutch is awesome.
It really is.
What you talk about?
With the, what's that?
What you talk about?
It's really nice.
It comes with a pressure plate. It comes with, everything. It's a completely designed system from Recluse.
Yes.
I mean, they made everything better on it.
It's
It's an
nice.
aluminum clutch basket, but where your clutch plates are riding on the basket, they have steel inserts, so it's not beating up the basket. A lot of inner hubs and stuff we see
Really nice.
are beat up, and what happens is from hitting over and over, your clutch plates actually wear grooves.
Is it our sponsors again? Can they hear us when this happens?
I think it goes out for like 1
Do
second.
do do do. So are we on a commercial break right now? And
We're back.
We don't know that we're live.
Nashville's redoing the internet in town.
Yeah, it's on.
No, it's not really like the Evolution Industries.
Different
It's
style.
the Apex clutch is kind of it's in a league of its own, I think. With the slotted hub, so the oil's from the inside out, which is my favorite part. Because especially one of the most difficult things with those Recluse clutches is there's so many plates and they're so thin that there's not a lot of fiber to absorb oil to begin with, and they are held so tightly together that if you let your bike sit for a long time, it'll be hard to find neutral for a little while until you get the juices flowing.
The plates
as you say.
resoaked.
But with the Apex, it slings oil from the center of the hub out through the plates, so it's that's probably my favorite part.
Yeah.
And it's nice.
And what we look for in a clutch is we look for a clutch that can hold the power and not kill your left hand.
Yeah.
When you're riding a bike and every time you pull the clutch, it's like, damn. That's no fun. It's no fun for anyone. And that's why we like the Recluse. The Recluse is, even with this big Apex clutch that can handle all this power, the extra percentage of tension on your lever is minimum.
Yeah.
And that's what we're looking for. There's other clutches on the market that can handle 300 horse. You go to grab it, you better be lifting every week.
Yeah, sitting in traffic and your hand cramps up.
Well,
Yeah.
the creature comfort that's on the Recluse is nice. Like I run an Evolution in my bike, but sometimes my bike sits for a while. I'll put it in gear. I'll walk a little bit, and it doesn't bother me. But some people it does bother. The Apex Recluse doesn't do that. It's probably the nicest clutch we can put on the bike right now.
We told you about that.
And they sent them to us when they were going through their R&D, their final stages. We had a couple of things to tweak on, and man, I mean, the final result was great. Awesome.
Yeah, the Nitrous bike has it, right? The 139.
Yeah. And it held the
213,
200
214,
I think
Yeah.
it's
mid twos, whatever.
mid twos.
2+.
200 on nitrous. So it was taking the nitrous hit. I mean, it was extra 40, 50 horsepower hitting, and it didn't slip the clutch at all.
Definitely 128 kit, Uncle Dirt. You can get new kit. What are you gonna do with them?
It's overrated. The cruise control works. All the gauges are functioning correctly, and we are now able to use ride. Are we even on? Are we live? Are we off again? Come on, Randy. We can't work in these conditions.
What were you saying? You didn't finish.
I don't know where I got cut off.
Tuning, the new one.
Yeah, we've got ride modes available now. The VVT tables are up and running, and RDRS. I don't think that RDRS is fully functional. We're still working on the IMU, but it is coming soon.
Yeah, and what's cool with the new setup that we've been working with is since Harley has the ride modes in there, we're able to use those to do different tunes. So basically, we can tune it how Harley did, how you have a rain mode, you have your normal mode, your performance mode, or we can do it where it's possibly got your normal 91 to 93 octane, and then maybe sport mode is going to be your E85 setup, So now that they've built that system, it gives us more abilities to do what we want to do and make stuff really cool. So, yeah, we might be able to go from gas to E85 with a button. You just got to make sure you have the right stuff in your bike to do it.
Yeah.
That's on you.
Every fourth word is all you need.
Free running New Jersey. The 128 kit, they are about $2,300 plus tax, but you'll need like exhaust, clutch, manifold, injectors, valve springs. There's things you need to put on there to keep us like happy and healthy the entire time. But yes, the engine kit is about $2,300 out the door, and you're going to get pump plate, lifters before tax. Yeah, pump plate, lifters, liftings, gaskets, but you'll need a few head bolts. Yep. You'll need a couple of things to keep it going. Generally speaking, a State Street from us, they start about $9,000. They can get up to $12,000 pretty quickly.
That's with all the parts you need for the primary,
Yep.
exhaust, intake, tuner, tuned, everything you need. It's kind of what Nick's mentioning,
Yeah.
installed. But it depends if you're piecing it together. So, yeah, the kit, 128 piston cylinders, everything for that cubic inch to build the middle of the motor, $2,300 plus tax. And we don't have a lot left.
I think Randy's playing solitaire over there because our internet's going down.
Yeah.
Anything
watching
about
videos?
SE head breathers. They are missing out. We don't have a head breather problem on the new Harleys. So to build some new breathers, they're not needed. They updated the breathers when they went from the twin cam to the M8 setup. And the breather now doesn't really wear out like they would before. It doesn't have the flapper valve. It doesn't have the Brillo pad behind it.
Yeah.
So they're nice. So they're not really missing out. I think they nailed it. Now, there's a bunch of other problems we see of proper ring seal on engines, valve guides wearing out, other stuff that contributes to maybe some oil in the intake that isn't related to a problem that Harley has. It's related to maybe some aftermarket parts, stuff not being done right.
The key things to look at when buying a used Harley: buy it stock.
Bob wants to know if a 143 is a good build for riding two up. A 143 is going to be an aggressive setup. It's not the best everyday rider. It's got so much power. You got to be careful coming out of corners and doing stuff. So you got to be a really good rider, have a big motor like that.
Are you listening to it?
We would say a 135 is where we would go.
My max, yeah, 120 or 135. The Devil Runner is like the big boy entry level, or the big boy level of getting 170 horse, 160 torque.
Yeah, 131, 135.
Yeah.
One of those would be great.
If you're two up a lot, our 131 torque heater is probably your best setup you can put in the bike. 155 torque, horsepower and torque, it's hard to beat too.
Billy, when you look at a bike on Facebook or Craigslist, I'd be looking for a really low mile bike.
That's stock.
Yeah, that's stock.
Yeah.
Because when us dealers get it, we're not all the same. So sometimes when we get a bike, we go through them because we don't want you to come back upset. Sometimes we stick $2,000 in a bike. So when we take a bike in, sometimes we stick $500 in it. Sometimes we're sticking $3,000 into it and fixing a bunch of stuff. So it really
Sometimes
depends.
we get bikes that look really cool from 10 feet away and we send them to auction.
Yep.
How much would you lose for a tab header and tab BAM sticks? Well, you're going to lose all the friendship of your neighbors.
They're very loud.
He's probably looking for that though. He wants that. You're just going to lose a little bit because it doesn't have the back pressure on the bottom. It might pick up in the middle RPM range and the top end. The cam makes a lot of torque down low, so if you lose a little and you want it to be as loud as you can possibly have it, I think you're good to go.
We haven't seen any venting or breathing issues at all on the 24s yet.
Mm-hmm.
They have a baffled transmission top cover, the 24s. So the breathing goes in through the transmission, and all of it breathes through the transmission cover through a baffle system. So I don't think we're going to have any of the breathing issues on the 2024s anymore. Can the geometry handle those high speeds? If your forearms can handle it, I guess the geometry probably can.
Whiskey throttle truck. I'll sell mine lightly used. One owner, never race. Oh, I love it.
I would not buy anything from Mark Ripple. That was ever that had an engine, lawnmower, weed whacker, nothing.
Or stock Nick. Hey, Rick C, the T-Man No Loss air cleaner. Yeah, it's a good air cleaner setup. If you like the look of it, it's a great air cleaner setup. We have an air cleaner setup like it as well, where we make it really easy to install on bike, make sure it doesn't leak on the breathers or on the heads. Both air cleaner setups are great. Vernon wants to know what he needs for an extra 200 to 300 pounds of weight in his bike.
To carry his radio
Yeah,
around.
so that would be, shoot, I would build a 128 with our 490, well, a 45 camshaft.
45.
Yeah, for sure.
45.
As much torque as you can get.
Ooh, I'd like to see that set up with a pair of Screaming Eagle little heads in the 45 camshaft. That would be a good build for that bike.
I know what I got. We know what you got too, Brian. Ryan.
Hey, one of the reasons these 128 kits are cheaper right now is because we bought those during COVID, and those were before inflation, all this stuff started getting out of hand.
Yeah.
So our cost was just less than them, and we bought a plethora of them back then because we couldn't get stuff.
Before Bidenomics fixed it all.
Wow. Well, I guess think we're about wrapping up here.
Well, sorry for the audio issues, guys. There were a couple comments to do it tomorrow, but we're gonna not do it tomorrow.
Yeah.
We'll do it probably next month.
Well, we'll have some more. We'll do some more Q&As as more stuff comes out. We got a lot of stuff on the books coming. We got a lot of cool parts being released. We're working on some rocker arms, the new heads. new intakes,
cylinders.
all the new stuff. And if you have a big engine and you haven't seen our MHP top fuel exhaust, it's made for 135 and larger cubic inch engines with big cams. So something we haven't talked about a lot. We've posted maybe 1 or 2 posts on it, but call Nick. We have a really big exhaust that's full length that can get you some extra ponies out of your big
What's the
builds.
number, Nick?
615-771-7775.
Not one blink during
Do
that
what?
whole. He didn't blink. the
Email
whole-
me
whole
and ask
time.
for Stock Nick.
Stock Nick.
Stock
Email me at
Nick.
Moonshine Harley. The calls are crazy right now, so it might be a little bit, but I'll get back to you as soon as I can.
And if Stock Nick's not available, ask for Aftermarket Nick.
Yes. It's an alter ego.
And if you yell at the receptionist, it really makes us want to talk to you.
We do get a high volume of phone calls, so sometimes it's just hard to return a call in the middle of the day. Sometimes we just look at our list of phone calls to return, and we're calling them in the
Dial it
evening.
next time.
What's your email again?
Nick at Moonshine Harley. N-I-C-K at moonshineharley.com.
.com.
What was that? WorldNet back in the day?
I love when people come in with like Hotmail.
Remember when they had
That was
1-800
before.
collect? Remember when you had collect calls back in the day? 1-800 collect.
Still do from prison.
Yeah. Do you?
Yeah, I think.
It's still around.
Yeah, they still want to.
I just remember the black and yellow, like ads. Do you remember that? Were you old enough to know
No,
about that?
I was still hanging out in school when that happened. You guys are way older than me.
Sorry,
What are you, like 38?
old. Father time.
We could probably just sit here for a minute and the internet will drop out on its own. that could be our exit.
Now we're done.
Hey, if you guys need us,
Yeah, now it's fine.
you have more questions, we're shutting this down. Call us at the shop. We're around. Make sure you get a hold of one of us. Make sure you get Mike, myself, Jamie Lima, or you get Stock or Aftermarket Nick. You know, whichever one you prefer.
Hey, I'll
The
be-
girls will learn Aftermarket Nick real soon.
You never know.